But some people say, well, you might do bad things. That is true. Some people might. But the only way that's going to work, if people make mistakes, you, the individual, suffers the consequences, and you can't go to the government and get you taken care of because you make bad mistakes and bad judgments. The same thing, we are generally tolerant, except political correctness sometimes affects us on our freedom of speech. But generally, we have fraud, libel laws. I mean, they say, well, this means anarchy and you can say and do anything. No, there's limits. Personal behavior, you can't hurt people, you can't libel people. But it's rather standoffish, and you allow people a pretty good leeway on what they can do. But not in economics. In economics, it has to be regulated because of fairness. They don't believe that the people will be prosperous if we don't do this. And the opposite is true. Why have we been a prosperous nation? Because we were the freest nation. That's why we became prosperous. And yet today, what have we done? We have undermined that freedom. We have some people defending economic freedom and some people defending personal freedom. But we don't have enough people defending individual liberty. That is what has to be defended. Our liberties, of course, do not come from our government. The government hopefully could help protect those liberties, but it does more to undermine those liberties. It does more. One responsibility we might say, matter of fact, it's in the Constitution, that we're not allowed to counterfeit. But what do we have? We have the biggest counterfeiting machine in the history of the world right up in Washington. So the government is perverse. The government is supposed to protect property rights. But do we really own our property? We pay rent, and then we ask the government when we can use it. So we have the government so involved in what we do economically, and then we wonder why the country is getting poorer. And the worst part of the story, at least for now, is that we're a lot poorer than it appears right now. Because almost everybody now is poorer than they were a year ago. But believe me, the country can get a lot poorer. Now, do I worry about this? Yes, I do, because it was so unnecessary and we shouldn't have had to go through this. But the one thing I don't worry about is if we did the right thing, if we restored constitutional law, understood what private property was, understood what honest money was all about, had our personal liberties, didn't have an income tax, and we were all broke, and we could all go out tomorrow and start working, I wouldn't worry about you for 1 minute. The concern now that we have with facing the erosion of that foundation, which is built on sand, and that is the dollar system, is that we can continue this for a while longer. But there's no hesitation now in Washington, D.C. to hold off. If we can bail out Wall Street, we can bail out every other person. I mean, the budget has been presented as $3.6 trillion, $1.8 trillion of debt. Deficit this year is going to be bigger than that, and the spending will be bigger, and the militarism will spread. But all that is putting pressure on the dollar. Now, when the dollar starts losing value rapidly, just as the house of cards came down rapidly, if you study monetary history, the end stages of the destruction of a currency, it comes rapidly too. There will be gradual inflation, but then skyrocket. And the runaway inflation comes and goes quickly. Now, that's dangerous. That's dangerous because we can send all the checks out that we want to from Washington, D.C., but you won't be able to send them out fast enough. And yes, nobody's going to be short at their Social Security check, but the big question is what will it buy? You say, well, it won't matter because the government's going to give us our medical care and they'll give us our food stamps. It won't work that way. So this is what we have to be prepared for. And, of course, that's why we have a campaign for liberty. And that's why we're here. And because you're here, because you've responded, because you have supported this campaign and other campaigns, and you're doing a lot on your own, I am encouraged. I'm enthusiastic about this because I know you're there. There was a long time when I didn't know how many of you were there. And you know, there's no way you can count the remnant. There's always a few. But the great thing is, there sure is a remnant. There are a number of people out there that knew and studied this. But what about the young people that have joined us? That's what's exciting about this. Every time some young people stop at my office, more so now than it used to be, like it's very frequent in Washington, they come by and they come in, and if I'm there, I'll talk with them and speak with them, and probably sign a constitution, and probably tell them, well, one thing I know is you probably know this Constitution a lot better than people over in the House floor. I wish I could pass some out over there. But I always ask them, I said, how long have you been interested? And very often the young people bring their parents, and they've introduced their parents. That's always interesting. And then I'll say, what was it? Was it the whole message of freedom? Or what was it that got your attention? Yes, they like the message of freedom, but when they get to the specifics, the two things that they mention the most, one is, this is great, it's the Constitution. They know I defend the Constitution. That's what caught their attention. And the other one is sound money, the Federal Reserve and honesty in money. So that is the thing that generation will do with us. Hopefully it'll be soon. The first step was described to you a little while ago. Before we end the Fed, we're going to audit the Fed. Once it's revealed what they do, I think the American people will be with us. And you know, it's going to be real hard, no matter whom you talk to, about transparency now of Treasury and the Fed and where this money's going. Republicans and Democrats, liberals and conservatives and populists and libertarians, everybody say, yeah, you have to know what's going on. I don't think if that bill ever came to the floor, I don't believe there'd be one person that would vote and say, no, we want a totally secret Federal Reserve System. The big job will be to get it there. But they deal in trillions of dollars, and they don't have to tell us a word. I mean, they are more powerful than the other three branches of government. But the positive side of this is we do have the authority. We do have the authority, but we have the responsibility. Congress has the responsibility, but we have the responsibility to get Congress off their duffs and make sure that they look into this and take care of it. It is up to us.